He opened the door at the worst possible moment. But what happened next changed how I saw him and myself forever. Please don't forget to subscribe and comment. It was one of those summer afternoons that seemed to stretch forever. The air was heavy, filled with the scent of fresh-cut grass, sunscreen, and something else I couldn't name. Something stirring that I hadn't felt in a long time. My name is Martha Jean Holloway, and this story isn't one I thought I'd ever tell. It's about a moment that began in awkwardness and turned into something I never saw coming. A moment that made me question what I thought I knew about comfort, vulnerability, and the way feelings can twist unexpectedly when loneliness and timing collide. My husband, Franklin, had left for a long business trip just a week earlier. We've been married 22 years, and somewhere between managing our home, raising our boy, and chasing our own careers, the magic we once had slipped quietly into memory. I wasn't unhappy. Not really. But I wasn't glowing either. That glow, that warmth, had faded like old sunlight on closed curtains. Our son Samuel had just come back from college for summer break. He'd grown up so fast. 19 now, towering over me, with his father's strong jawline and my hazel eyes. He'd always been respectful, kind, a bit reserved. That day, I assumed he was still out with friends, maybe grabbing pizza or heading to the lake. The house was quiet, too quiet for a place with two people in it. So I let my guard down more than I normally would. I'd been organizing my closet, pulling out old dresses that no longer fit and trying to find space for something new. It was sweltering in the room, the sun blazing through the windows. I peeled off the last piece of clothing, a simple tank top, and stood in front of the full-length mirror, fanning myself with a folded magazine. I wasn't admiring myself. Not exactly. But I caught my own gaze, studied the curve of my hips, the way my hair clung to the nape of my neck, damp from the heat. There was a flicker inside me, a quiet hunger I hadn't felt in years. And that was when it happened. The door creaked, froze. "Mom!" Sam's voice, deep and unsure, hit me like thunder. My breath caught in my throat. I spun around, instinctively covering myself with the closest thing I could grab, a long silk scarf hanging on the back of the chair. He stood there, motionless, eyes wide with panic and shock, and something else, something I couldn't name at first. I saw it in a flash before he turned his face and mumbled, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know, I thought you were in the garden." I was trembling. "Sam, don't just barge in like that." My voice wasn't angry, just shaken. "I didn't mean to, I swear. I'll go." He backed out so fast he nearly tripped over his own feet, slamming the door behind him. I sat down on the edge of the bed, my heartbeat loud in my ears. My face flushed, not just from embarrassment but from something deeper. That brief look he gave me wasn't just the stunned glance of a son seeing his mother at the wrong time. There was a strange intensity in it. He saw me not just as a mom but as a woman. And I didn't know how to process that. Later that evening, the silence between us felt heavy, like a velvet curtain that neither of us wanted to pull back. I made dinner, meatloaf and mashed potatoes, his favorite, hoping to pretend nothing had happened. But when he walked into the kitchen, his eyes wouldn't quite meet mine. I pretended not to notice, but I could feel it. Something between us had shifted. We ate mostly in silence. Occasionally he asked about the neighbor's dog or if I'd seen the new trailer for a movie. But the energy had changed. He kept watching me from the corner of his eye, like he was trying to understand something he wasn't supposed to feel. When I went up to my room, I locked the door, more out of habit than necessity. I took a long bath, hoping the warmth would rinse away the confusion. But it didn't. I found myself remembering the look in his eyes, the way his voice trembled, and how I'd felt standing there, caught, yet oddly seen. That night I couldn't sleep. The next morning, he knocked gently before entering the kitchen. He looked well-rested, a little too well-rested. He kept his distance, but there was a carefulness in the way he moved around me, a heightened awareness that made the air feel charged. We spent the day doing mundane things. Grocery shopping, watering the plants, reorganizing the garage, but under the surface a current was building. Every accidental brush of the hand felt electric. Every glance lingered longer than it should. It was like we were tiptoeing across a line that neither of us wanted to admit existed. One afternoon I caught him staring again, not at me directly, but at the small of my back as I bent to pick up a basket of laundry. I straightened, heart pounding, unsure what to say. I should have been furious. I should have scolded him. But instead I said softly, "Sam, are you all right?" He nodded too quickly. "Yeah. You look different." "Different how?" He hesitated. "I don't know. You're just beautiful. I mean, you've always been, but now I notice it more." I stood frozen, the basket still in my hands, my breath shallow. "Sam, I know I shouldn't say that," he added quickly. Ever since that day, I can't stop thinking about it." I felt a wave of emotion wash over me. It was part flattery, part fear, and part something darker and more dangerous. "It was an accident," I said carefully. "I know. I didn't mean anything by it. But it changed something for me. I see you differently now." There was no mistaking the sincerity in his voice. And suddenly I saw him differently too. Not just as my son, but as a man, one who was wrestling with feelings he didn't fully understand. I had to stay grounded. I had to guide him back to safety. Days passed, but the tension didn't. In fact, it grew. I tried to ignore it. I went out more, saw friends, busied myself with chores, but each evening brought the same simmering silence between us. Then came the storm. It was a Thursday night when the power went out. Rain hammered the roof, and the wind howled like something alive. Sam and I lit candles and settled in the living room. We played cards at first, then shared stories from his school year. The closeness returned, and so did the comfort. Eventually, the conversation slowed, and the only sound was the rain and the occasional crackle of thunder. He looked at me and said, "I've never felt this close to you." I smiled faintly. "We've always been close." "Not like this," he whispered. My heart thudded. I wanted to change the subject, to laugh it off, to pretend this wasn't happening, but I didn't. Couldn't. Something about the way he looked at me, the softness in his voice, the honesty, it disarmed me. "Sam," I began, but my voice caught. "I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable," he said gently. I've never met anyone who makes me feel the way you do. I know it's not supposed to be this way, but I can't help how I feel." I reached for his hand, not thinking, just feeling. His fingers closed around mine, warm and trembling. The moment was suspended between right and wrong, between past and future, between mother and son, and man and woman. Nothing happened, not physically. But in that one charged moment, everything changed. It was a shift in understanding, a painful awakening of boundaries, emotions, and the power of what we choose to nurture or let go. The next morning, I sat him down and told him the truth, that while feelings can be powerful, not all of them are meant to be followed. That love can come in many forms, and the deepest kind is the one that protects and uplifts, not crosses dangerous lines. He listened. He cried. And so did I. Over time, the closeness returned to something more familiar, more appropriate. We never spoke of that day again, not directly. But we knew. We both carried it with us, not as shame, but as a reminder that life is complicated, and the human heart doesn't always follow the rules. Today, he's in his final year of college. He's in a healthy, happy relationship now. And I'm finding my own glow again too, learning that desire doesn't end just because we age. It simply transforms, into power, into wisdom, into grace. And that moment, the one that began with a door opening at the wrong time, became the moment everything changed, not because of what happened but because of what didn't. It taught me that love, in its most unexpected forms, still asks for our courage and our restraint.